So hello everyone, my name is Ankit Sharma and today we are going to talk how to create a full stack web application using .NET and Angular. So let me introduce myself. I am a full stack consultant. I am an author and a speaker. I am a Google developer expert for Angular and a Microsoft MVP. You can also read my blogs at ankitsharmablogs.com. I regularly blog about Microsoft technologies such as Blazor, C Sharp, .NET, and also front-end technologies such as Angular. You can also reach out to me on Twitter at ankitsharma_007. I am happy to discuss anything related to technology or anything in general. If you want to talk about web development, front-end development, mentorship, anything, I will be happy to connect with you. So the good thing about this session is that there is no content in the slide. And the bad thing about this session is there is no content in the slide. Everything is just code and code. So before we start, we have to understand what are the prerequisites to create a full stack application using .NET and Angular. So you have to install Visual Studio 2019. And while installing Visual Studio 2019, please make sure to select the ASP.NET and web development workload. So while installing, you will be given a lot of options and a different kind of workloads such as uh, console development, Azure development, Xamarin development. So similarly, there is a workload called ASP.NET and web development. So you have to select that. So if you install that workload, it will install .NET Core and all other dependencies related to that. Then you have to use Node.js because we are using Angular. We are creating an Angular application, and then you have to use SQL Server because we are going to create our database using SQL Server. Also, in the project that we will create, we are going to install two NuGet packages. So we will install the package for the database provider that we are targeting. So in this case, it is SQL Server. Therefore, we are going to install the package called Microsoft.Entity Framework Core.SQL Server. Please make sure to install the latest stable version. So currently, we are the latest stable version of .NET is .NET 5.0.5, if I don't if I remember correctly. So similarly, if you go to the nuget.org, you can find the current stable version of the package, and you have to install that. Similarly, we are using Entity Framework tools to create a model from the existing database. Therefore, we will install the tools package as well. That is Microsoft.Entity Framework Core.tools. So for our application, we are going to use Entity Framework Core DB first approach. First, we are going to create the database tables, and from the database tables, we are going to scaffold our model, and then from then we will proceed to controllers, and then from there we will proceed to the UI part. So that will be the structure of our application. So enough talk, let's go to the coding. So first of all, let's open Visual Studio. So first step is to create the application. So how to create a project in Visual Studio? That is the first step. So click on create new project in Visual Studio. And in the next page, there are a lot of templates given to you. So search for template called Angular. Now in the template, you can see that it is written ASP.NET Core with Angular. So this template will come automatically to your Visual Studio when you select ASP.NET web development workload while installing. Select this, click on next. And after that, you have to put the name. So I will put a name as ng core demo, and then click on next. Here in the additional information section, you have to select the target framework. So there is a drop down shown as target framework. If you click on this, you can see all the .NET framework version which is installed in your machine. So in my machine, I have 2.1, 3.1, and 5.0. So the current version is 5.0, so I will be selecting that. And also the authentication type will be selected to none, and the configure for HTTPS should be checked, and then you have to click on the create button. I'm not going to click on the create button now because it will take a lot of time to install all the node dependencies and node modules dependencies. So I will close this and I will open another solution which I have already created. So this is the solution which I have already created. The name of the solution is ng with net. Now let us understand the folder structure over here. So first of all, we have a client app folder. So as the name suggests, this is the client application, the client part of our application. It contains all your Angular code. Your whole Angular code resides inside client app folder. Here you can see you have the package.json file. Here inside src folder, app folder, you have all the components created. So I have already created few components, add employee, fetch employee. So we are going to understand later what are these components and how they are going to work. And similarly, we have our app module over here. So all the code which is related to your Angular sits inside client app folder. Now, we already have a controllers folder which will contain our API controller API controller code. And then I have created an interfaces folder. So for this application, we are going to use the repository pattern. So in the repository pattern, if you are familiar with that, you know that we have to create an interface and then we have to implement that interface at our data access level. So I have already created an interfaces folder, and I have already added an iEmployee interface to that. Similarly, there is a data access folder, and inside that I have created a employee data access layer class. So this is our application structure. Now, what we are going to build, that is the first question. So our application will be a employee data management system. The application will allow you to create, read, update, and delete. That is CRUD operation on an employee data. A user can add a new data. A user can delete an existing data or edit an existing data. And user can also see the list of all the employees in a tabular manner on the UI. So that is what we are going to create. I have already installed both the NuGet packages in this application. So if you go to your CS proj file, you can see that here these two NuGet package that we have just discussed is already installed in this application in this project. So you have to go to your NuGet gallery, get the code. So let me give you an example. So let's copy this name, go to Google and search for it. And in the NuGet gallery, here you can see the current stable version is 5.0.6, and here you can see the command to copy, command to install. Click on the copy and the command will be copied. Then go to Visual Studio, click on Tools, NuGet Package Manager Console, and here you can paste the command and install it. So your package will be installed. So I have already installed, so I'm not going to install it again. So that is about the package. The next part is we are going to understand the database first. So I have already created a database inside SQL Server. The database name is EmployeeDB. And inside EmployeeDB database, I have two tables. One is called employee, another one is called cities. So if you run this command, you can see that the employee table has 5 columns: employee ID, name, city, department, and gender. The fields are self-explanatory. For the cities table, we have two fields, two columns, city ID and city name, and it is pre-populated. You can see that in the city name field, I have already added 5 city name over here. So what this cities table is going to do? So in the UI, we are going to provide a form to the user where he can add the employee data. And in that form, there will be a drop-down list to select the city value for the employee. And that drop-down list will contain the value from this table. This will allow us to make this dynamic. That is why we are already providing we are binding the drop down list on the UI with a database table from the backend. So that is what the use of cities table. So currently these two so currently the employee table is empty because we have not added any data to it. Now the next step is we have to create our model. Since the table is already created, we have to use entity framework code DB first approach to scaffold the model using our this database table. So let me copy the command and then we'll see. So I have copied the command. I will explain it to you. So again, you have to go to package manager console and paste the command. So let us understand what this command is doing. It says that scaffold DB context means create the DB context class using this connection string. So this is my connection string, which is put inside quotes, using Microsoft.entityframework core.sql server. That is our database provider name. So we are using SQL Server as database provider. Output directory name as models. Now, very important point to mention over here is that there is no models folder in our solution file over here. So this command will check if the models folder exists or not. If models folder does not exist, it will first create the models folder and then it will create the classes inside that. If the models folder already exists, then it will add the classes inside that. Okay, then tables name. So we have two table, employees and cities. So that is how this command will work. Let it run, and then you will see that a models folder will be created with 3 classes inside. Okay, so you can see there is a models folder created with city.cs, employee.cs, and employee context.cs. So let me close this, and we'll go to employee context class, and we'll see what happens over here. In the employee context class, this is our DB context class, and here you can see that all our entities are defined. Our employee entity, and then we have our city entity is already defined. But there is a warning. What is the warning? Let's see that. It says that to protect potentially sensitive information in your connection string, you should move it out of the source code. So here you can see that currently we have used a connection string to scaffold our models, and that connection string is directly written inside our DB context class over here. But the warning says that we have to move it out of the DB context class to protect potentially sensitive information. So where should we keep this? That is the question. So the best place to put your connection string is inside app setting.json file. Inside app setting.json file, I have already created a JSON structure over here. In connection string is the key, and the sub key is called default connection. So what we are going to do is we are going to copy this connection string from here, and then we are going to put it inside our app setting.json file. Okay, so that is the first step. We have moved the connection string out of our employee DB context class. Now we can safely remove this method, because that method was just injecting the connection string to our DB context. But now we have moved the connection string out of our DB context, so we have moved that method. Now the point over here is we have added our connection string inside app setting.json file. But how our application is going to read this connection string from app setting.json? So for that, we have to do the configuration inside the configure services method of the startup.cs file. So here, let me import the namespace. Okay, let's understand this. So here I am writing the code as services.add db context, the db context name, and then inside I am providing the option, and I am using use SQL Server method because we are using SQL Server, and then we are reading the data from the configuration and the path inside the configuration, that is connection string colon default connection. So that is our path for our connection, the connection string inside our app setting.json file. So here you can see that the path inside this JSON file is connection string dot default connection. So similarly, we have defined the same path over here. So this will make sure that as soon as our application starts, this particular connection string will be available to our inside our DB context class, and we have using the path that we have specified over here. The advantage of this approach is that we can dynamically change connection string inside our app setting.json file without the need to redeploy the application. So, and it is also helpful in clean code structure, since the connection string is not tightly coupled with our DB context file. So that is all about DB context, app setting.json, and this file. Now let us see the models we have. So we have a employee class. So it contains all the 5 fields that we have defined in our database. That is employee ID, name, city, department, and gender. Similarly, for the city class, we have the 2 fields that we have defined in our database. That is city ID and city name. So the models is created. The next step is to create our interface for implementation of our data access layer. So let me add the code from the code snippet. Let me add the namespace. So here I have defined 6 methods for our iEmployee interface. Let us see what are the methods. So first method is the first method is get all employees. It will return an IEnumerables of employees. So as the name suggests, get all employees. It will return the list of all the employees available in our database. Then we have the add employee method. This method will accept an object of type employee, and then it will add it to our database. Similarly, we have an update employee method which will accept the object of type employee and add it to the database. update the record in the database. Then get employee data method will accept the employee ID as a parameter, and it will return an object of type employee based on the based on the supplied ID. Delete employee, as the name suggests, will accept the employee ID as parameter, and it will delete the employee and then return the success message. And get cities method will return the list of city which is available in our cities table. Now we will go to employee data access layer class, and here we have to implement our interface. Now let me add the code over here. So what we are doing over here is, in the employee data access layer class, we are injecting our DB context class, and this injection will allow us to access our models from our DB from our data access layer class. Then we will implement all our interfaces method. So you can see that currently it is showing an error because we have not implemented all the methods. As soon as we implement all the methods, this error will be gone. So here we have implemented get all employees method. It will return all the values from our employees table as a list of employees, and in case of any error it will throw the error. Then we have the add employee method. The add employee method will accept the employee object, and it will add that employee object to our employees table. It will call save changes to save the change to our database, and it will return to show a success. In case of any error, it will throw the error. Similarly, we have the update employee method. The update employee method will accept the employee object, and it will mark it as modified object, and it will call the db.save changes to save the changes to our database, and then it will return in case of success, else it will throw an error. Then we have get employee by ID method. In the get employee by ID method, will accept the employee ID as parameter, and then we'll find the employee object from the employees sorry, we'll accept the employee ID as parameter, and then we'll find the employee object inside the employees table based on that ID, and then we'll return that object. Then we have the delete employee method. It will accept the employee ID as parameter, and then it will find that object inside our employees table. It will remove it from the table. It will call db.save changes to update the state of our database, and then it will return 1 if in case of success, else it will throw an error if there is any error. Finally, we have the get cities method. It will return the list of cities from the city table, and here you can see that we are using LINQ queries to fetch the list of cities from the cities table, and it will return a list of cities using the list of city object. So that is returned from this particular method. So that is all about our data access layer class, and here you can see that particular error is also gone because we have implemented all the method. Now the next step is to configure our controller. So let us understand what we have done so far. So first step is that we have created our database, then we have scaffolded our models, then we have created a data access layer. Now the next step is to configure our controllers. So in the controllers, first we are going to add a constructor, and we are going to inject our iEmployee interface to our controller. Then we'll add a get method. This get method, let me add the namespace. So this get method, this is the get endpoint for our service, for our controller, and it will call get all employees method of our employee data access layer. Then we have the post method. This post method will accept the employee object, and it will call the add employee method of our data access layer to add the employee to database. Similarly, we have get by ID. So this is also a get call, but it will also accept ID as a parameter, and then it will pass that ID to our get employee data method, and it will add it will fetch the list the employee ID. It will fetch the employee based on the employee ID. Then we have the put method. The put method is used to update the employee data. It will accept the employee object as a parameter, and it will call the update employee method. Then we have delete. So the delete method will accept the employee ID, and then it will call delete employee method to delete the employee data. Finally, we have the get city list method. So the get city list method will call the get cities method of our data access layer class, and it will return the list of cities to our callee function. So that is all about our API endpoint. And the root of this API is defined as API slash controller name. So it will be API slash employee. So that is how our API endpoints are configured. Now, now to make this APIs available to the world, or to make it API available to for an endpoint to be consumed by any client, we have to configure our startup.cs file by defining the service dependency for that. So here we have added a transient dependencies of iEmployee service to our employee data access layer class. So when you define a dependency in your .NET application, you have multiple options available. One is transient, one is singleton, and one is scoped. So here we are using transient. So transient will make sure that for every connection from client to server, there will be a new session will be created. So that is why we have defined a transient scope for this particular service. So at this point of time, we are done configuring the backend part of our application. So we have configured the database, we have configured our service layer, we have defined our API endpoints. So that part is done. The next step is to configure our client app folder, which is our Angular code. So let me close all of this, and then we'll go to our Angular part of the code. So we open the client app, we'll go to services first. So I have already created these so here you can see that I have already created a few folders. So first is a services folder, which will contain our employee service class over here. Then I have a models folder. Inside the models folder, I have created two model. One is employee. So it will contain employee ID, name, city, department, and gender. The model on the client side is same as the model that we have defined on our server side. And similarly for city also, we have a similar model with city ID and city name. The advantage of using model is that it will allow us to do model binding in our application. So like we are using TypeScript, so it is always advisable to use model. We should not use any as a type. So it's always advisable to use typed data corresponding to use any, which is untyped data. That is why we have defined the model over here. Then I have defined two component. One is called fetch employee, one is called add employee. So we'll understand about this component in a minute when we start working on them. So first step is to configure our services. So in the services, first of all, I have defined a base URL for our API endpoint. So if you remember, in the controller, the base URL was API slash controller name, which is API slash employee. So that is what we have defined as our base URL. And I have also injected HTTP client in our service. Here I have defined get city list method. It will return a observable of array of cities. So it will do a get call to our get city list API endpoint. So here you can see that to do an API call from Angular code, we have to use HTTP client class, and HTTP client class provide all our API, all our verbs to do an API call, such as get, post, put, and delete. So here we are using get, and we are expecting a data of type array of cities, and then we are passing our the endpoint URL. So that is the base URL plus get city list, which is the endpoint URL for the city list method. Then we have the get employees method. So in the get employees method also, we are doing a get call, and we are calling the get method from our API endpoint and expecting a return object of type array of employees. So that is what we have defined over here. Similarly, we have defined all other methods. So let me explain it bit by bit. So we have get employee by ID method. It will accept a parameter of type ID, which is the employee ID, and it will pass the ID to our API endpoint, and it will fetch the employee data based on that particular ID. Similarly, we have save employee method. It will accept an object of type employee, and it will do a post call. Here you can see that we are calling the post method of the HTTP client class, and then it will call the base URL of our API endpoint, and then it will pass the object as a parameter. Similarly, we have the update employee method. It will do a put call, and it will also pass the employee object. And similarly, we have the delete employee method. It will accept the ID as parameter. It will do a delete call and pass the ID as parameter to this. That is how we can use HTTP client to do an API endpoint call from our Angular application to any backend API. So in this case, we are using the API. We are using the .NET API, but you can do any API call to any other application also. If you have a Java endpoint or a Node endpoint, you can also use same methods, get, post, and put from HTTP client class to do the API endpoint call. So the service part of this application is done from the client side. Next step is to go to the fetch employee component. So what is happening in fetch employee component? So let us understand this. Let me close this too and open the HTML part also. So the fetch employee component is used to fetch the list of employees from our backend, and then it will be displayed on the UI in a tabular manner. And for each employee, we are going to show edit and delete button also. And in this particular component, we will handle the fetching of employee from backend and deleting a particular employee data. These two things will be handled by this particular component. So let's start with this. So here in the constructor, I have injected the employee service. And here we have defined a object of type array of employees. Then let me define a method called get employees. So in the get employee method, we are calling the get employee method of the service, and we are subscribing to the observable, and then we are assigning the data which is returned from the observable to our local variable that is called employees. Let me uncomment this code because we want this code to be called when the component is initialized. So as soon as the component is initialized, this get employees method will be called, and then we will fetch the data from our backend, and then the data will be shown on the UI. So let me remove this particular comment. Now here I have defined a delete method. So this delete method will accept employee ID as parameter, and it will ask for a confirmation. Do you want to delete an employee with ID? And it will show the ID. So it will show a browser confirmation alert box to ask you if you want to delete the employee. If you put answer as yes, then it will call the delete employee method of our service and delete the employee data. And once we get a success response, we'll call the get employees method again to fetch the updated list of data from the backend. Since the data has been deleted, we want to sync the data from front end to our backend. That's why we are calling the get employees method again to fetch the updated list of employees. Now we are going to the HTML part of this code, and we are going to add code over here. So let us understand what we are doing here. So there is some static text over here showing that this is this is the employee data component. It will fetch the data from the backend. Now at the top, we have defined a button called add new employee button over here, and this button is show this button will redirect you to register employee link. So currently we have not defined this component. This is the add employee component which we are going to define next. So we have just added this button, but this button will be functional only after we will we will configure the add employee component. So this will allow us to add a new employee data to our application. Then after that, we have defined a table. So the data from the backend, all the employee data from the backend will be shown in a tabular manner. Here we have defined the headers for the table, that is employee ID, name, gender, department, and city. Then we are using an ng-for directive to iterate over our employees array. So if you remember, here is our employees array, and this employees array is getting populated inside ng-onInit method. As soon as the ng-onInit is kicked, we'll call get employees method, and here inside get employees, this employees array will be populated, and then we'll iterate over this using ng-for, and then we are going to show all the employee data over here in the rows. And corresponding to every employee data, we are also showing two button. One is for edit and another is for delete. So in case of edit, we are navigating to a URL which is employee/edit/employee ID. So how this edit functionality is working, we will see it later when we configure the add employee component. For now, let us understand this delete part. So when you click on the delete button, here we are calling the delete method from our component. So if you remember, here we have added the delete method, and this delete method is being called when we click on the delete button in this particular row of our table, and it will pass the employee ID as parameter. And after that, the whole functionality of delete will be kicked in. So that is how the delete and fetch part of our application will work. Now let us understand how the add and edit part of the application works. So for that, we'll go to the add employee component. Inside the add employee component, so we will use this component, the same component, for both adding an employee and deleting an employee. So in this component, we are going to provide a form to the user, and we will use the same form to add the new employee data and edit an existing employee data. So here we have defined an employee form which we have type form group. So for this purpose, for this demo, we are using the reactive form to show the display the form. So in Angular, we have two type of form: reactive form and template driven form. So for this, we are using reactive forms, and we have set a title property to create. Then we have employee ID, error message, city list, and this form submitted properties which we have defined. And inside the constructor, we have injected an activated route class. So activated route class is used to get the data from our URL. So how we are going to handle, how we are going to configure this component, let us understand. So for this component, let us go to app module.ts file first of all, and we will understand how we have configured the URL route for this particular component. So here you can see that we have defined three routes for our application. The first route is fetch employee. So for the path fetch employee, we are calling the fetch employee component. For the path register employee, we are calling add employee component. And for the path employee slash edit and passing the ID as parameter, we are also calling the edit employee component. This shows that we are calling our edit employee component for two different routes. If we are calling for the register employee, this shows that we are going to add a new employee to our database. And if we are calling for this path with a particular ID, this shows that we already have an employee data with us, and we are using that the ID of that particular employee data to invoke this component. So in that case, it will be an edit call. So inside our component, in the constructor, we are going to fetch the ID from our URL. So that is what we have used activated route for that. So activated route.snapshot.params.id, which is our parameter name. If this exists, this means that we have an edit call, and that is why we are going to set the employee ID property to the same value. If this does not exist, then it means that this is an new call. This is an add call to add a new employee. Then we have also defined our form. So in the form, we have defined the name, gender, department, and city field as required. So here you can see that we have defined validators.required to show that all these four fields are required field. So this is the client side validation that we are doing. So until unless you fill all these four fields, the data will not be posted to your backend. Now, what we are doing over here, let me uncomment this over here. Here you can see that we are checking inside ng on init lifecycle hook that if employee ID is greater than 0, this means that this is an edit call. Then we'll set the title of the form to edit, and then we will call get employee by ID method of our service to fetch the data of a particular employee based on the ID, and then we will call employee form dot set value, and we'll set the value of the form to the response we'll get from the database. So we'll call the backend, fetch the data for a particular employee, and then we'll populate that data in the form so that the user can edit that data. Then we are using, then we are registering the form control over here. So let me add the methods over here. So this is the add employee method. So the add employee method is used to add a new employee data to our database. It will call the save employee method of our employee service, and it will set the form value to that. And if data is added successfully, we will navigate to the fetch employee page using router.navigate. Similarly, for update employee, we are also using the same feature. We are calling update employee method. We are passing the form value, and then we are navigating to the fetch employee component if the operation is successful. And then finally, we have the save method. Inside this save method, we will check if employee form is valid, then only we'll proceed. If employee form is not valid, we will return. If the employee form is valid and title is set to create, we will call the add employee method. If the title is set to edit, we will call the update employee method. So here you can see that initially the title is set to create, that is the by default. But if we have a ID in the URL, which means if we have a edit call, then inside ng on it, we are setting the title to edit. So If the title is set to edit, this means that this is an edit call and we'll call the update employee method. Now we have the fetch city list method which we have defined. So what this will do, let me add this over here. So the fetch city list method will call get city list method of the service to fetch the all the city list from our database, and this will be called, this method will be called inside our ng on init method. So as soon as the application is launched, we'll call this fetch city list method to fetch the list of cities from our database, and then in our template we are going to populate that list of cities in a drop down list. So that is why we want it to be available as soon as the application is launched. Then we will go to the HTML part and we'll add the template code for this. Let us understand what we are doing over here. So in the template, we are setting the title over here. So this title we are binding from our component based on the value of our URL parameter. Then we have defined a form and we have bind it to our employee form property, and then on submit, same method will be called. So inside this form, what we are doing, let's understand this. So here we have defined the label for the name, and then we have defined a particular input field to accept the name, and then we are using we are binding it to the form control name. So if you see that this particular word name, from where it is coming, it is coming from the form control name. So inside this form we have defined multiple controls, that is name, gender, department and city. So for this particular field we are binding the value to the name form control of our employee form, and then we are using a span to show the errors if the form control is touched or submitted, and if the form has the error called required, then we'll show the name is required field, name is required error. Similarly, we have defined a gender field, and here we are binding it to our form control called gender, and we are showing two gender value, male and female, to that. And similarly, we have defined the error span class for this. Similarly, we have the department field. It is also a text field, and the user can enter the department of the employee. Finally, the most important part here is the city field. So here you can see that we have defined a select we have defined a select control, and it is bind to the form control called city. And for the options, we are using ng for directive to iterate over the city list variable, and then we are defining the value of the option as city.city name. So this particular city list variable is populated inside fetch city list method. So if you go to fetch city list method, here you can see that the city list particular variable is getting populated as soon as the application is launched, because this fetch city list method is called inside ng on init method over here. So this means that as soon as the application is launched, we have the data populated in this particular drop down from our database. And then we have the save and cancel button. The save button is of type submit. If we click on the save button, this form will be submitted and this save method will be called. And if we click on the cancel button, the cancel method will be called. So we have defined the cancel method. I think, no, I don't think we have defined the cancel method over here. So the cancel method we will define. Let me, so I forget to create the code snippet for that. So it will be same as this. In case of cancel also, you will be navigated to the fetch employee method, fetch employee component. So that is how we have created our application. And then inside the nav menu.html, we have added the route for our fetch employee page. So if you can see that, we have added a particular link to our fetch employee page. So let me run this application and see the see it in action. We'll see the output if it is working perfectly or not. So application is running. Okay, showing loading. Okay, so the home page is launched, and on the nav bar you can see there is a fetch employee link. If you click on the fetch employee link, you will be navigated to this fetch employee URL. So here you can see the fetch employee component. Currently we are seeing a table, but the table is empty because we have no data in our employee table, and there is a add new employee button over here. If I click on the add new employee button, we will be navigated to our add employee component, and here you can see the root is register employee and the title is set to create. If I click on the save button, you can see that all the required field validation is kicked in. Also, if you notice in the city list drop down, you can see all the values are populated from our backend database. So here you can see this select any value for the city. Let me add a data over here. Let me add and click on the save button. If you click on the save button, data has been saved successfully to our database, and we are navigated to the fetch employee component. And on the home page, you can see on the fetch employee component, you can see that data is shown in a table manner. If you go to your database and run this command, set a star from employee, you can see that that particular data has been added to our database also. Similarly, we can perform other operations such as edit and delete. If you go to edit from dev, if you make it dev lead from Mumbai, sorry, dev lead here, and from Mumbai, if you change to Bengaluru, click on save button, you can see that the data has been updated on our UI, and similarly, the data has been updated over here also in our database. So this shows that there is a sync between the UI and our data access, our database always. And similarly, if you click on delete, it will ask for a confirmation. Do you want to delete the employee with ID 1? If I click on cancel, nothing will happen. No action will be taken. If I click on yes, this employee data will be removed and we can see the updated list of employee data over here. So currently there is no employee data. That's why this table is empty. Similarly, if you go to database, you can see that this database is currently empty. So that is how you can create a full stack web application using .NET and Angular. So that is all about my talk. Before I close, I want to share some resources with you guys. So here you can see that I have added the link for the GitHub. So you can go to this GitHub repository and you can find the source code for this particular application. You can also go to my personal blog and you can read a lot about Microsoft technologies and Angular. And you can also connect with me over LinkedIn and Twitter. I will be happy to connect with you. So I hope you have enjoyed my talk. Thank you all for joining.